All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello, John.
How's it going?
Going well, thanks.
All right. September
Really well.
3rd. I guess our summer's officially over, right? Sure doesn't feel like it.
Not here either.
Got some pretty hot weather brewing out there. All right. So we got lots of smiling faces on here this morning. That must mean things are good.
Good and getting better.
Some are, some aren't.
Oh, well, yeah, that's always the way it goes. Teresa, I have to apologize to you. You sent me an email with some updates for your new site, and I queued them up, and I didn't hit the send button. I just realized that this morning.
Oh my gosh, because I was going to ask you about that. And then I owe you an apology because I came on your apprentice or consulting thing this morning.
That's okay.
I'm thinking, where is everyone? John was in a private consultation with another member, and I'm like, oh, oops.
No,
And it dawned on me about 15 minutes later, so my apologies as well.
No problem at all. Yeah, I was curious. Usually my guys get those updates done like right away, and I was looking. I'm like, what's going on? These guys, what are they doing? And then I looked, and it was like I didn't hit the send. I queued it all up.
I am really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't so happy about it. That's all on me.
Hey, it is what it is, you know. Then I don't have to really apologize over and over again for getting things to you haphazard and late and.
No worries. Never worry about that stuff.
Oh, please be careful. You're saying that in front of witnesses.
Yeah, and recorded too.
And recorded. Oh boy.
All right. Who's got something they want me to look at or discuss or topic of interest? Go ahead, Dwayne.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I just sent you an email. I'm following your advice. I have about a third of my membership site course loaded up, about 20 videos and other stuff.
Oh,
it's
cool.
going really well. I'm loving Kartra.
Yeah.
The more I do it, the easier I get. Just point and drag, fill it in, pop in a video. It's amazing. So you had suggested that I start with a drip program, and then once that's done, then I have the evergreen. So I want to start that in a couple weeks. And I just wanted to get your insight on what I should be doing at this point. I have enough for the beginning. I'm guessing I'll need a sales page, opt-in page, payment, maybe a free webinar, those sorts of things.
Yeah, it comes down to with any kind of membership or product sale or anything like that, you need to generate leads. So generally, as far as a marketing campaign, opt-ins work really good for that. Giving away something of value for free up front to grab their attention, get them kind of hooked. Once they're hooked, once you give them the free thing, and here's something with the free thing. I see a lot of people, and I saw BeeKonnected do that this week when they sent out they put their lead magnet together, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, that's not a good lead magnet. It looks great, but it's like a book. It's like nobody's going to read this.
Yeah.
A lead magnet, you should literally be able to consume the lead magnet in under 2 minutes, if possible.
Wow.
Like the ideal thing, if you look at mine, I have one for the ACT program. Like I have the blueprint. I give away for free the blueprint for the predictable client getting system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know the predictable client getting system is the ACT program. So I give them the blueprint, and it's just an outline sketch. It's kind of like a skeleton of a successful marketing campaign, of walking through all the pieces of ACT of how to do it. they can literally look at that, and in seconds, they can see, okay, I understand the system. You start here, you do these things, you follow the flow path. Now, I don't expect them to get it or understand it or any of that. That's not my intent with the lead magnet. The lead magnet was just to hook them into the fact that I have this thing that's going to do what they want done, which is predictable client getting. So that is a good lead magnet. Try and create a lead magnet that shows them that you have the solution to what they want. And that's what, if you look at that, if you can go onto my site on internetdominators.com, right at the top, there's a button. And I think it says client getting system or something like that. And you can see it's a simple opt-in page. It's a simple offer. They click it, they put their name and email address in, and it delivers them the PDF. Now, once they get the PDF, another key element of a lead magnet is to really whet their appetite, but leave them wanting more. So obviously, when they look at this thing, they're going to go, wow, okay, I see this is a system. This is the thing that's going to do what I want. I want more clients. I want more, predictably, I want to predictably be able to get more clients. They can see it. Now it's almost like in the real world, it's like the elevator speech. You say something really compelling and they want you to tell them more. So that is a perfect lead magnet, is to grab their interest and get them to want more. So this for me is the perfect time to say, by the way, here's your free blueprint. It's really cool. It works. I've used it, but there's a lot of nuances to it. And I just did a free webinar. I recorded it. If you'd like access, I walk you through each step. So what I'm describing here is it goes back to the whole process. This is a perfect example of it living and breathing and in action. The process is grab attention, create demand and desire, eliminate objections, and make an offer. So on the front end, I'm grabbing their attention with the lead magnet. They're wanting more. So now I get the opportunity to create demand and desire with the webinar, the pre-recorded webinar. So as they consume this, and they're probably going to consume it because they're very interested at this point. They've got this thing in their hands. They want the outcome. They believe that this system will do what it says, and now they want to learn about it. So in the webinar, I'm walking them through the process. I'm telling them not only how it works, but why it works. And what that is, remember, you seduce the heart and you convince the head. So by telling them why it works, I'm convincing the head that, hey, this thing is for real.
Yeah.
I'm seducing the heart with the promise of what they really want is getting more clients predictably. So that's the seduce the heart. Convince the head is all the facts and the figures and showing them, sharing with them my insight into why this works. And I do that very logically. I show them examples that they've probably experienced in the real world. Like I talk about how salesperson works. And I give them the example of a really good salesperson, exactly what they do and why they do it that way. And they can totally see it. Like the logic starts stacking up and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. That's why it's not working for me. It's almost like the Garcinia Cambogia and the diet pill. They're like, oh, that's why the diet pill didn't work for me. It didn't have that. So that's part of that whole process of creating demand and desire. And then it's also like the way I like to do it is I like to weave in the part about eliminating objections. And the way I do that is the more in detail I can describe why it works, that's eliminating the objection of, does this really work? Or this might not work for me. I can tell stories about how this has worked for a total newbie. I can tell stories about how this worked for somebody that had tried it and spent a ton of money and done everything they thought was possible, but they didn't do it this way. And then when they did, all of a sudden it clicked. I can tell stories of how I do this. I do this consulting for big companies, big multinational companies that are in the hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And by following this process, I can refine their process and get them better results. And it all falls back to that same why. It all comes back to language and human nature. And that's something that we could all agree on. If you speak the wrong language, the person on the other side is not going to understand you. If they don't understand you, your likelihood of success diminishes rapidly. So there's not much dispute to that. I've never had anyone stand up and say, I don't believe that. I'm like, really? So it's like indisputable evidence. And I talk about this occasionally. I'll put this into the format of like a court case. I know one of the big marketers, Todd Brown, he uses the court case example a lot. And he says, when you're creating a marketing campaign, he does this a lot for clients. He said he'll go into it as though he's presenting a court case. And he says, he makes his opening statement, which is kind of the overview. And then he goes into now backing up everything in that initial statement with indisputable facts. He does it with claim proof benefit. And that's the formula. Every little thing that's stated, you have to back it up, because everything you're talking to them about is a claim. Like when I make the claim of this is a predictable client getting system, that's a pretty big claim. I got to back that up pretty boldly to get them to believe it. Because when you're talking, your claims have to be believable. They have to basically be two things. They have to be believable and they have to be true. If they're not true, then you're just a scam artist. So they have to be believable and they really should be true. You shouldn't be making claims just to make sales just for the sake of, taking people's money. I really don't like people that do that. I know a lot of them. And it drives me crazy every time I see these marketing campaigns. And they're great campaigns, but they make them very believable. But the fact is they're not true. And that just drives me crazy when I see it. And it's a case of somebody that has gotten really good at something and using it for the wrong purposes. It's like, it's the same thing with NLP. A lot of the NLP trainers, one of the things they do before they'll train you is they make you promise, some of them make you sign an affidavit saying that you will not use this for the wrong purposes, because it's very powerful. Language and conversation is a very powerful thing. So I just want to urge you all to, when you're making your claims and you're pleading your case, that you make it believable and true. Don't tell lies about stuff. Don't lead people astray. Just, I've always done that. I've always been very truthful with everybody. Sometimes it's not what they want to hear. In fact, in many cases, it's not what they want to hear. But I say it anyway. It might make me unpopular at some point in time, but, it also drives some people away. But eventually, they generally always come back, because they'll find out that it was true and there's no way to change that. So, but anyway, that's the biggest thing that you need to get an understanding of, is if you're trying to sell something, you have to have the process. You have to have a way to grab people's attention. If you don't, it doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how good your offer is. no one's going to see it. That goes back to the famous statement from David Ogilvy. You know, he was that really famous guy in the 50s that he was like, I think they called him the Midas man, Midas touch. Everything he touched turned to gold. And they interviewed him and they wanted to know, what is your secret? You know, what makes you, like, every campaign you roll out, it just flourishes. What's the secret behind it? And he was very clear. He said, the most important thing to any marketing campaign is a big idea. And when he said that, he wasn't talking about just the idea of an idea that's a big one. It was his unique mechanism of what he called a particular process. And a big idea is basically, it's a headline. It's a headline that encompasses 3 key components. And, you know, I teach this in one of the lessons in the ACT program, is the big idea lesson. And the 3 components to it is, you have to have a promise. That's number 1. You have to have a promise. You have to be promising something that the person on the other end wants deeply. You know, you've got to be able to figure out what that is and why they want it. That's why the analysis piece of ACT is so important. It's the key to the whole thing. If you miss that, you're dead in the water. If you miss that, you know, you might as well pack it in and just go do something else. Seriously, it's that important. But the big idea, it's the promise. It's, what is it that you're promising? What is your thing going to do? What's the transformation? What are they going to get out of it? And you need to have an understanding of why they want that. A deep understanding, not superficial, the real reason behind it. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But the second thing after the promise is, now this is what makes it believable. Because a lot of times promises are not believable on their own. So this is the piece that ties it together with, oh, I believe it. And it's the fact that you have a unique mechanism. The unique mechanism is the thing that's going to deliver the results. It's the thing that does the work. It's the Garcinia cambogia in the diet pill. That's what it is. It's, you've got to have something that is unique to you, that is why your thing works, why it does what it does. Mm-hmm. The third piece to it is, you need to be able to say the first 2 pieces in a way they've never heard before. So it's like you tie it into something intellectually interesting, something that really, like, they go, what? What did you just say? And a perfect example of that is my Elvis Shift. That's a big idea. The big idea is, I call it the Elvis Shift. And the idea behind the Elvis Shift is, this is a simple shift that you can do in your business that will take you from a struggling business owner to the king of your industry literally overnight. That's a pretty large promise, right? Mm-hmm. But the unique mechanism is the Elvis Shift. It attaches to Elvis. It attaches to a very known person that did it. And it took them from a struggling musician to the king of rock and roll, and it's undisputed. Mm-hmm. You can't say that Elvis was not a struggling musician. I can prove that without a shadow of a doubt. Mm-hmm. We can tell within a very, very short time frame, he went from what would be considered a loser to the king of rock and roll. What did that? What was the magic potion? I've identified it, and I call it the Elvis Shift. So that gives me now a unique mechanism that I can show you I can deliver that result. Whether you're a musician or a manufacturer or a meditation guru or an attorney or whatever you are, the Elvis Shift works across all industries. Mm-hmm. And it's simple. you know, when I get into it and I actually unpack it and show them what it is, it's the ACT program. It's the fact that you do what the people on the other end want and you will be successful. And then I go back and I show how Elvis did it, why it worked, what he was doing that was he was struggling with. And I just unpack it for him. And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh my God, he's right. I proved my case beyond a shadow of a doubt. So when I go into the deliberation and I'm asking for a favorable a favorable response, I'm going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So
maybe I could do something like star witness.
Yeah, something that will resonate with your audience.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons that I created the big idea of the Elvis Shift, and this is another important thing to understand. This has everything to do with the exact niche audience that you're speaking to, the segment. When I created the Elvis Shift, I had a specific audience in mind for that. And it happened to be Craig's group because his group is called Rockstar Marketing. So what better than a rock star to prove a point to a group of rock star marketers, right? You can have multiple big ideas. The more big ideas that you have, the more successful you're going to be. Your campaign can be the same on the back end. Like your webinar can be the same. It doesn't have to change much, if at all. Your offer can be the same. Your product can be the same. But the way you sell it, the way you grab attention on the front end, that's the big idea. You can shift that based on the market of who you're talking to. And again, to back that point up and tell you how I can prove that's true is I use the example of a really good salesperson. He will ask questions of his prospect to find out what's important to them. And guess what he'll do? He will shift his message. He'll shift his language. He'll shift his body position. He will shift everything to try and mirror and match the likes and desires of who he's talking to. He'll literally become a chameleon. It's amazing to watch a really good salesperson, to watch them, just sit back and watch them work. It's magic. I love watching a really good salesperson work. And you can learn so much from it. And it's so simple in what they do. All they're doing is they're trying to understand what's important to the person they're talking to and make them feel special. And it works. It's always worked. It's human nature. It worked back in the beginning of time, and it'll work forever. Because I don't believe that we as human beings are fundamentally going to change much, in our lifetime. We're talking, this has worked for generations and generations. Mm-hmm. Even, a lot of people think that the millennials are so different. They're not. They're just younger versions of us. We just don't remember. But they just want to be heard. They want to feel special. They want the same thing we all want. It's just we're on a different path. We're on a different place, and we don't associate. So there's a disconnect in the languaging. That's why a lot of times older folks don't get along with millennials. Guess what? If you've got that language barrier, how effective do you think you're going to be at swaying their decisions? Not very. And it's the same thing in sales. It's the same thing in marketing. You've got to understand who you're speaking to. So it's just really of key importance. And it's the same thing. Like you can extrapolate this out across almost everything. You can take it into SEO. Google has figured out that they want to give a positive experience to people that give a positive experience. It's almost like they're paying it forward. So they're looking at how people interact with your site. If you don't understand your users and you're not resonating with them, you're going to have a higher bounce rate. People are going to hit your site and bounce off. Google's going to penalize you for that. If they hit your site and they don't stay long, they don't go click your links, they don't interact with your website, Google sees that. And guess what? Google knows, hey, you are not talking their language. We want to figure out, this is Google speaking now. We want to figure out who speaks the language, and we want to connect the right people. We don't want to send somebody that speaks Taiwanese to somebody that's Korean, right? It wouldn't go very well. It's the same thing. That's all they're trying to do. They're a matchmaker. They're trying to figure out, you know, if you've got, there's this thing, there's a couple people in our group that they are love specialists. And I don't think either one of them are on here today, but they basically specialize in the language of love. And they've figured out there's like 4, it's almost like the disc thing. There's 4 different types of love languages. And if you want to connect and have a romantic connection and relationship, you need to figure out what the love language of your prospect or your partner is. And it's like they help people that have been married for a long time that aren't getting along. And it's because they don't understand each other's love language. Yeah, maybe they both speak English, but you know, the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, or whatever that is so true. Women speak a different language than men, just inherently. Yeah, it's all English words, but they're strung together in different sentences that mean different things to different people. So that's all it is. It's all about communication. It's all about languaging. And if you don't understand the person on the other side, they're not going to understand you. And if you're asking them to spend money on something and they don't understand your language, there's going to be a big disconnect there. Now, for you, on the other hand, Eric Laughlin, he's one of the guys I learned sales training from. I heard him say this to a group of people, a pretty good sized audience, and it really had a good impact on me, specifically because for many, many years, I didn't like sales. I thought it was greasy. I didn't want to be associated with it. And that was dead wrong. And he showed me why that was wrong. And it was through a story. He said, imagine this. And he used the imagine trigger word. He was using all kind of NLP on everybody, but he used the imagine trigger word. He said, imagine that you have the cure for cancer. And he's setting you up for a metaphor here with whatever you have, you plug it into the cure for cancer. And he said, now you have this magical power where you can cure cancer. And again, you're associating your magical power to whatever your thing is. It's just the story to deliver the experience. But he said, now imagine you hold the key to curing a little girl that is terminally ill. She's going to die. You have the magic power. You have the power to save her. What's in your way is her father. You need to convince him to allow you to save her. How hard would you fight to save that little girl? That's your marketing argument. You need to defeat the villain and do what's right. You know you have the cure. This is where it goes back to the believable and the true. Make damn sure that that's true if you're going to fight for it at that level. But whatever you have is the same thing. You know that you have something very powerful and very useful for your prospect. So you need to get them to understand that so you can benefit them, or you've done them a great disservice. If you let this little girl die, you didn't serve her well, and you didn't serve her father well, and you didn't serve her whole family well. You didn't serve them at all. It's the same thing with your product. If your product truly helps someone and you don't explain it properly, if you don't communicate it clearly and get them to desire it, want it, eliminate their objections, and get them to take the offer, you have not served them properly. You haven't served them at all. And that was the story that Eric told. And I'm like, wow, that changed my outlook completely. From that point forward, I became the best salesman that I could be. The shift was instant. I went from not wanting to feel like a used car salesman to I am now empowered not only to sell my stuff, but to help people. That was a pretty big change. That was a pretty big shift, and it happened instantly. It was in the time he took to tell the story. I got it. It sunk in. You know, thank you to NLP for doing that magic on my head. I really needed it because I've never had it communicated to me. So when you communicate to someone else and you can shift them for the better, think about how much better he made my life by just getting me to understand that. That was his argument. That was his court case. So this stuff is incredibly powerful, but you have to understand, like for him, he understood that myself and all the people in the audience, we all had a big aversion to sales. And he was trying to teach us how to do sales. So if we have an aversion to sales and he's trying to teach us how to do something we don't want to do, how effective would he be? Not very. So he understood that he had to eliminate that objection before he could do his magic for us. It's the same thing with all of you. We all have the same issue. We all have people that we need to communicate our value to, and that's the only way that you're going to do it. You have to get them to want what you're promising. They've got to lean in, and then at that point, you've got to take that forward momentum and complete the process of creating demand and desire. You've got to seduce the heart. The only way you're going to seduce the heart is talking about what the heart wants. The only way for you to talk about what the heart wants is for you to understand this person or understand this market. What do they want? And it's never the superficial stuff. It's never what it is. You've got to really dig deep. Like if you ever get the opportunity to interview a prospect or a client, even an existing client or a past client, this is a really eye-opening experience to do this, is talk to them and ask them some pretty deep questions. Ask them about what they want and why they want it. And you'll get some really interesting answers. Typically, what the first thing they will tell you, and this is the same thing with most sales prospects, the first thing that they're going to tell you when you ask them what they want is it's going to be superficial. If they give you an objection and you ask them what the objection is, or they don't, let's say they don't buy. Let's say you have done a spectacular presentation, you thought you nailed it, and you ask them for the order and they say no, there's an objection in the way. This is the same thing. You ask them what's holding them back. You're asking a question, and the first thing you're going to get is a superficial answer. They're not going to tell you the truth on the first round. They're just going to throw something off the top of their head so they don't have to engage you. Nobody likes conflict. That's another human nature thing. So they're just going to try and blow it off. So you get a superficial answer. Now, if you don't take the superficial answer and you ask the deeper question, you'll get a deeper answer. Like for instance, if you ask somebody what they want, what's their goal in business? And they say, oh, I want to make $1 million this year. I want to add $1 million to my bottom line. That's a superficial answer. That's not really what they want. So if you ask them the deeper level question, you'll get the deeper level answer. And what you want is, oh, why is that important to you? What is it about $1 million that's going to help you? What's that going to do for you? What's that going to allow you to do? Now you're going to get a deeper answer. Now you're going to get closer to the truth. They might say, oh, well, if I added $1 million to my bottom line, I wouldn't have to worry about payroll anymore. I'm like right on the edge right now and life's a little hairy. That's a much deeper answer. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from chaos. So, and then you ask them again, oh, well, what's that going to do for you? If you don't have to worry about payroll, how's that going to change your life? And with a man, what you'll ultimately get, if you ask him the same question enough times and you really dig to the bottom of the pot, it's almost always going to come down to significance of why they want it. They want it because they want significance. Most of us in business, that for men, this is for males only here, and some alpha females too. You'll find this in some alpha females. But the significance is very important to them. It's bragging rights. It's envy of the neighbors. It's whatever it is. Sometimes it has to do with family. Sometimes the guy wants the $1 million so he doesn't, not only does he not have to worry about payroll, but he cannot worry about if he wants to take his family on vacation. If he wants his kids to come home from summer and do the show and tell at school and be the talk of the school because of where they got to go on vacation, that is what's important to him. That's significance. You see how it went from $1 million to a much deeper reason? If you're talking to him just about the $1 million, you're talking to him on a superficial level that his subconscious isn't even hearing, because that's not really what he wants. So that's how you can dig in. You can change the conversation if you understand them, if you understand what they really want. Like, this changed things so much for me. Like when I used to sell commercial SEO, I always made the mistake of talking about SEO. Well, guess what? Nobody wants SEO. I can go into, the biggest company that it would benefit. They could get millions of dollars of additional sales from SEO. They don't want it because I'm not speaking their language. They're not waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, if I only had SEO, my life would be great. That's the superficial answer. So when I speak to them on a superficial level, guess what I get? I get super crappy results. So you've got to dig in. You've got to get your hooks in. You've got to figure out what they want and why they want it. The why they want it is the most important thing. That's when you tap into their emotions. Emotions are big, deep drivers. So that is like key importance. And I swear, I feel like I'm just beating this horse to death. I hope I'm not boring you guys with this because I say it over and over and over so many times in so many different ways. And if I'm boring you guys and you want something else, just yell at me or wave or say, stop, stop, you've killed the horse.
Hey, John.
Yeah, Randy.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Hey, I'm sorry because I'm in and out and I'm trying to listen, but I do have a simple burning question. and I just got off a coaching call, and I think everything you're saying is absolutely true, because the gentleman I was on the call with, and I say call, coaching session, Zoom, we went down this same road. We tapped into exactly what it is he was bugging him. What is it he wanted? And it came down to an emotional situation. So what you're saying is true. My other question, my burning question, is I finished the ACT training.
Okay.
But I didn't know. But my question is there a workbook that I should be working through, or should I be going back through the training?
Well, here's the thing. What I recommend for everybody is the first time you just go through and listen to the videos.
I did that.
Just kind of sweep through just to kind of get acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're acclimated and you have a good understanding of the system and how it works and what it's for, what it does, all of that, now you'll be much more effective at actually going back through and creating your campaign. So go back.
So there's no workbook that I have to work through?
There is a workbook. It's not a mandatory thing. It's for your assistants only.
Okay.
There's a couple of different things that I really encourage you to use the workbook for. And you'll find the workbook when you log into the ACT program. It's on the first page. It's on the quick start guide.
Okay.
That's where you download the workbook, and I've got it in a PDF format, and also a Word document if you want to fill it in with the Word document. That sometimes that's easier for people. You can also print it out. Some people like to actually write with pen and paper, and I know I'm one of those. When I write stuff down, for some reason, it correlates with my head better. So you could print it out. You could do it any way that resonates with you. But here's another thing about the workbook. The workbook is very in-depth. The workbook has probably got way more fields and way more questions than any one of you needs. Like for instance, when you go into the avatar creation, the avatar lesson and the avatar workbook sheets, it asks a ton of questions. Some of them may not be relevant to any one of you. Like, there's questions in there of, is this person married? Is this person divorced? Are they widowed? Some of that may not matter, but to some of you, it might matter a lot. There's questions in there like, if they're widowed, how long? Is it fresh, or is this 10 years ago? And again, that may not matter to your particular situation, but it might matter a lot. If you're, depending on what you're selling and what points you're trying to get across, what you're trying to communicate, you really need to understand where this person's at. Some people, there's stuff in there about slang. Do they use slang? If you're selling to communities in the South, and you're doing videos, you better be speaking with a drawl. or you're not, you're going to be like that outsider, that out of towner that nobody, you would get the cold shoulder if you came into town speaking like that. They'd know, this guy ain't from around here. He's not one of us. So when you're going through the workbook, keep that in mind. It's not meant for you to fill the whole thing out in its entirety. It's meant as a guideline for what might be important. And the other thing, I can almost assure you it's probably missing things I didn't think about for everyone's particular situation. You might have something that to your person is very important that's not in the workbook. Add it to the workbook. Feel free to just use that as a structure to create your own worksheet for who you're selling to. And then all of that information gets carried forward when you go into the creation mode. The workbook is meant to be done in the analysis piece. So as you're gathering all that information, you're looking at all the competitors, there's spots in the workbook to fill out all of that stuff. And here is something that is a really interesting tie. Let's say you didn't want to create your own marketing campaign. Let's say you wanted to hire out, you want to hire a copywriter. Everything in that workbook is what that copywriter is going to need to do a good job for you. So if you're prepared and you hand this workbook over to him and you say, hey, I've done all the background work. I have every answer to every question you're going to have right here. You hand that to him, it's going to be like gold. It's just like the whole thing, garbage in, garbage out. If you hire a copywriter and you're not prepared and you don't know all that stuff and you don't send him all that stuff that he needs, you're basically giving him garbage to work with. And that's all you can expect back. There's going to be stuff about your market he doesn't know. He's a good copywriter. He knows all the ins and outs and the nuances of writing copy, but he does not understand your prospect. He doesn't understand your industry unless he's got experience with it. Sometimes you can find a copywriter that they know your stuff inside and out. They've done it for 10 other people just like you, and they get it. But in most cases, that's not the case. So it's very important. So that's what you really want to lean on the workbook for. When you go back through and you make your second sweep through the ACT program, you're doing analysis, you're learning again, you're getting it at a deeper level, but now you're translating that into the workbook. Whatever you pull out that's important, stuff it in the workbook. It just gives you a place to document it. Because there's so many things in there that I guarantee you will be referring back to when you go into creation, and it'll all be there for you. It'll all be done. Even if you don't refer to it, the fact that you wrote it down, it has you get it at a deeper level. So sometimes, like for me, when I go into creation mode now, I very rarely have to look back at the workbook because I've logged it all up here because of the structure of the workbook. It's like I know what to look for when I'm looking and I'm doing the analysis. I'm mentally cataloging all that stuff, so I don't need the workbook anymore. But before I had that, I had to write all the stuff down. So it's just an easy way for you to document and catalog all of your work and analysis, so you don't lose it. You don't lose it in the translation and in the process, because there's a lot to it. It's like anything else, you know, when you go through and you learn something, the first time through it might be revolutionary, but the second time through you're going to get it at a deeper level. And the more you go through it, the higher level of mastery you'll get to anything, you know, whether it's marketing or playing basketball or ice skating or whatever. You know, the first time you put a pair of skates on, that's revolutionary, right? You're gliding across ice. You've never done that shit before. Are you going to be good at it? Probably not. But the second time you do it, you'll have that muscle memory. And it'll be a little easier and a little easier. And then pretty soon you'll master it. It's the same as anything else. So Roy, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, John. I've got a number of people that are prospects that I've been talking to already. Is it possible that I can get them into my funnel? I can see how to get people in, you know, off an ad and things like that. But I've already got people I'd really like to have in there. Is there an easy way to make that happen, or even not an easy way, but somehow?
Oh no, there's a 5-letter word that's the easiest thing in the world to do. It starts with E and it ends with L.
Well, yeah, but then we're talking different email addresses. If I use the Kartra email, is that a problem for people?
Well, here's the thing with email. If you've got, let's say you've got a list of prospects that you've known for a long time.
Yeah, I do.
And you should be able to email them freely.
Oh, I can.
So the only thing you would not want to do, and this is Kartra specific, if you have an email program, one of the things you got to be very careful about is loading email lists into email programs, because they're really sticky about spam these days, and opt-ins, double opt-ins, all that stuff.
Okay.
What I would do is I would email them from your regular email. How many do you have? Is it hundreds, thousands?
Oh, no, it's under 100.
Okay. So I would set up a personal email to all of those 100 people. You know, you can copy and paste and swap their name out or whatever, but send them an email with an invite to your lead magnet, which is a Kartra page.
Okay.
Once they opt in, now they're on your Kartra mailing list, and now they're going to be tagged, flagged, and able for you to follow up appropriately. But email is a great way to communicate with, you know, existing prospects and do that for sure.
So when I send them to Kartra, what I'm inviting them to, do I invite them to my opt-in page, or how do I?
Well, you're not inviting them to your opt-in page. That's not the best idea, because what's in it for them with that?
Right.
What you have to do is you have to tell them you've got this really cool thing. It's the lead magnet. You're basically introducing them to this thing that you would like to give them that will help them get something.
Okay, that's easy. All right.
And then you say, here's how to get it. And you give them, now you give them the link to go to your landing page.
Okay, great. That's what I needed.
That's how you get them there. That's the sequencing to get them there. And then all else applies. Everything else we talked about, Nicole, you just take it from the top.
Yeah, everything else is working great. And I can see where to bring people in, you know, that are cold and all that kind of thing. But I've got a bunch of people that aren't cold.
But even for those, even for your warm prospects, the big idea is the key component to grab their attention.
Excellent.
So
okay.
You need a big idea around your lead magnet to introduce them to it.
Yeah, I have that. So I just needed the transition, which you've just given me. I appreciate that.
That's it. Now, I want to move on to Gwen. Gwen's got something exciting she's working on here.
Thank you.
All right.
I've got an email sequence. We're talking about emailing, because I guess it's a good segue.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I've got an email sequence worked up selling the crowd targeting that John's offering. And I just wanted to go through it and make sure I have it right in Kartra before I hit send.
Okay, yeah, you can share your screen and we will check it out. These sequences and stuff in Kartra is so cool. The last couple of days I've been setting one up for a client, and he's doing a membership site with multiple levels of membership, and we've got all these automated emails going out, and it's just the coolest thing the way it works. It's really powerful. So you can share.
You can,
did you want to share your screen, Gwen?
No, you can't see it yet. Okay, I thought I did. Hang on.
Not seeing it here yet.
Okay. Let's see if this one works. If I go screen and share.
There you go.
Now can you see?
Now we're getting somewhere. Yep, I see it.
Okay, so the starting role is the first email.
Okay.
And what I'm Go ahead.
In your starting rule, click on that. Let's check it out, and let's make sure you've got edit.
And I have a sequence for the crowd targeting theme sequence.
Okay, so lead subscribes to sequence. So how are they subscribing to the sequence?
By not clicking on the link.
Okay, so do you have an automation that automatically subscribes them to the sequence?
Good question. I may not.
Okay, because usually when I start a sequence, I'll give it a specific thing. Like, let's say they opt into a form.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they opt into the form, I have that be the trigger that starts the sequence. So you can have it like if a tag is applied. This is a cool way to do it also, is if you have people that are already in your database and you want to individually manually subscribe them to a sequence. And if you have the tag here as a starting rule, all you have to do is just go into their record and apply the tag, and boom, the sequence starts. So you could do it by tag, by opt-in form, whatever the action is that you want them to take to start the sequence. That's your starting rules, and it's very important. Otherwise, the sequence won't fire.
Okay, that's important, because I was thinking just throwing it in the sequence would do it.
Hey, John, can you start that sequence if she was to have them go to a page, like a landing page, is that a place you can
Yes.
start?
You
Okay.
can, but the person has to be in your Kartra database for that to work.
Okay.
If they're in the
Okay.
Kartra database already, then that works fine. But you can see page visit right there. You can have any one of those things, like if they place an order, if they get assigned to a list, if they get a tag, if they opt into a form.
Because basically I was going to say, if they don't do the page visit, then I want to send them the next one. So maybe that would be a good way to do this.
Okay. So you just need to logically think about what you want to trigger the sequence to start. So if it's a follow-up sequence for somebody that's interested, you have to know what made them interested. Like, did they fill out a form? Did they?
I'm trying to do it like a week long. Just I want to hit them. And if they open the form or the page, then I don't want to hit them with all these other emails.
Gotcha. So that's after the fact. So you don't want to worry about that yet. You want to set up the sequence as though how many times you're going to hit them if they don't do the action you want them to take.
Okay, so maybe instead of having it go to this form, so if they get the form, I don't want them to get the sequence. So maybe a tag would be better than.
So I would say if you're prospecting and they're going to fill out a form to show they're interested to get a lead magnet, that to me is a good starting point for a sequence.
Okay.
You can
I'll
also
think about how to do that then. I could do it by list too, I guess, because I'm doing just one list.
Yeah, if they get added to your list, then that could start the sequence. So you basically just want to pick a starting rule, and you can have multiple. You can say if they do the form, if they get a tag, if they visit a page, you can have multiple things that starts the sequence.
Okay. So I think I will do the list because I know that I'm just hitting one list with this one.
Okay.
If I just do the list, then that will get it started. Okay, so I'm just hitting one list with that one. Okay. So that should get it started. And then how I set these up.
Here's an important thing. The thing that triggers this is a future action. It's not a past action. Does that make sense? Like,
so they have to do something?
Yes, if people are already on the list, this is not going to get triggered.
Ah, okay.
Starting rules is a new action that's going to trigger.
Okay.
So it's based on an action that you want to add. So here's a scenario for you. Let's say you've already got people on your SEMA list.
Right.
So what you could do, you could have a tag. You could start the sequence starting rules with a tag. And then you can make the tag crowd targeting.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to create a new one here because it's an email.
Okay. Yeah, so just make a generic crowd targeting tag. Okay, and
it doesn't need an expiration date, does it?
No, I never put expiration dates on them. Okay, so now when that tag is added, the sequence will fire. So what you can do is you can go back into your prospect list when you're ready to do this. You can filter by all the people on the SEMA list, and you can do a mass add tag to all of them. So if you've got 50 people in there and you do a mass add the tag, that tag will get added to all 50, and the sequence will fire on all 50 of them instantaneously.
Okay.
So that's a good way to do what you want to do. Now,
that should work. Okay.
Okay, so Now you want one of these things, like your number one email should go out probably immediately. You've got it set to 2 days.
Right. I've got it set 2 days after the first one. So I was thinking this was the first one. And then I have 2 days after, 2 days after, 2 days after.
Okay, well,
I
starting
wasn't sure I
rules,
wanted every day.
yeah, starting rules doesn't send an email though.
Okay.
Starting
So
rules
I need my first email here
just
then.
triggers the sequence. Yes.
Okay. So I need one up here then. Right after previous step. Okay.
Yeah.
Do
And
you usually go with a set time of day or?
I just do any time of day typically, because that tells me, like, if they come on in the middle of the night, I know they're a night owl, so I don't mind sending them emails in the middle of the night.
Ah, okay.
If they're early morning person, I want to hit them when they're hot. I don't want to like send it midday if that's not when they're active.
Hey, John, I got a quick question. Maybe you can answer while she's working on that. Is how do you specify a tag for a coupon code? If someone fills in a coupon code, and then how do you tag that?
That would be with an automation. You could say an automation is an if-then statement. So you could say if coupon is applied, apply this tag.
Oh,
So that's
well, that's
just,
simple.
yeah, that's just an automation.
And that would be done as soon as someone fills out a form, or?
That would be done, whatever the action is, whatever the if action is, like if they use the
Okay.
coupon, like when they're placing
Oh,
an
I see.
order, if the coupon triggers the action, and then you add the tag.
Yeah.
So it's if this, then that.
Okay, great.
And you can
And then
get as advanced as you want with the if-then statements.
yeah. And then the same with social media. If someone comes in from Instagram versus Facebook, how do you know that they came from that source?
You can do an if-then. You can have particular pages, like if they visit this page. You can have all kinds of different stuff. You might need to set up specific landing pages that you send all your, let's say you send all your Twitter traffic to one page and you send all your Facebook traffic to another page. You could easily do that. You can just clone your pages, name them Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
And then
yeah.
if-then statements to put a tag on them for LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter. Then you can segment it that way.
Okay, great. Yeah, because we had a client that did a launch of their event, and they hired a social media group, and it was disastrous. They only got like 5 people or something like that signed up. And so we're gonna have a call tonight, and I like what you said today. Is you send out emails from your personal email address to go to the landing page.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have old mailing lists, that I've got a mailing list, like a full mailing list. It's probably got 30,000 people on it from the past.
Yeah.
And probably once or twice a year, I consistently send the whole list trying to get them to opt in for something. I'm still trying to move them all over to Kartra.
Yeah.
And I haven't moved anywhere close to all of them, but what I did was I moved over all the important ones. I moved over all the ones that are engaged, all the ones that are, making purchases, all of that stuff. So I basically weeded the list out.
So to do that, if you have a list of like 5,000 old email addresses, is it better to use like SendMail to launch that, or SendGrid to to then blast it out to the landing page on Kartra?
Yeah, exactly. If you've got a SendGrid or an Aweber or Constant Contact, use those to, to do your mass communications, get them all moved over to Kartra, and then, then you can really be good and work with them and all of that.
So John, there's no way to, let's say you had a couple different email lists and you did move people over to Kartra, but you didn't get everyone. So like you're saying, you're going back periodically and hitting those touch points, hoping to bring them over. There's no way to market, I'm guessing, unless they're already in the Kartra database. Is that correct? You can't market to other people. So if I do a webinar and I do a webinar funnel and put that out, I'm only going to be able to put it out through Kartra with my current list. Is that right?
No. You can market out to any list you have available. You can absolutely do that. What I would encourage you to do, though, is somehow get them to opt in onto Kartra first. Like, let's say, for instance, I've got that big list of 30,000. What I'll do is if I'm putting on a webinar, I will send that list. I'll send that email invite for the webinar out to the whole 30,000. I will tell them, if you'd like to attend, please register. The registration now moves them into Kartra. So the better the carrot that you have to get them to take the action, the more likely you'll be able to move them over. And then once they're in Kartra, you've got all the advanced automations to market to them till the end of time.
So if you market your webinar per se out to an email list, for example, right? You're giving them the link back to Kartra. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'll send them to the landing page on Kartra to opt in for the email, or to opt in for to register for the webinar.
Okay. All
like
right.
I use Zoom Webinar, but I do not use the Zoom Webinar for registration. I set the webinar up just with a link, and then I use a Kartra registration page. So they go to my Kartra page, they register, Kartra sends out the email with the link to attend the live webinar, the link to put it on their calendar, all the follow-up reminder emails. I have it come directly from Kartra.
Okay, so you take the link for the Zoom webinar, put it into the marketing in Kartra, into your funnel, into those emails, and that's how they register.
Correct. That is correct. So, and that's been very effective for me to get people to move across into my Kartra account.
Yeah, that makes good sense. Thank you.
Yeah, as long as you've got good stuff that the list is interested. Like for me, that list of 30,000, it was before I really knew what I was doing with marketing. And it's 30,000 people. I don't know what they're all interested in. They're all interested in different stuff. I just poured everybody into one big jumbo list back in the day. And now I'm weeding them out. Like when I do a particular offer, I'll get some of them moved over. A lot of them won't, because the offer didn't resonate with them. But every time I move them over, I make sure that I tag them on how I got them there. So later on, I don't make the same mistake and have to send to the whole list and get people to not pay attention to my emails.
When people come off of that, so that's, let's say that 30,000 big list, now you delete them off of that 30,000, so you're whittling it down and you don't repeat? No,
I still leave them on there. That's like way too much work for me.
Okay.
I am inherently lazy. I'll tell you that right now. I am all about automation and all that, but there's, I'm pretty effective at what I do, but I got to tell you, I'm by no means doing things well. I am, like I said, I'm very lazy. I cut corners like crazy. There are so many people out there that do this stuff so much better than I do. I'm really good at teaching it. I'm really good at telling you what to do, but me, myself, you go back and look at the stuff I do, it's like, They're like, people would go, man, how do you survive? And it's just like the stuff that I do so well that it works so well that that's all I need. But I could do a lot better. That's just a damaging admission on my part. I could do way better.
Hey, John, just to follow up on Chris's question, when it comes to adding a tag, is that done? So I've looked at the post-sale advanced automation, and the only thing that it actually has there is it doesn't have coupon. So if you have a coupon code or anything, it doesn't say if they used a coupon. It doesn't say that. It says, did they buy at price point 1, or did they buy the product, or did they refund the product? There's only 4 choices.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing where you could actually add.
I can tell you a manual way to do it. And generally when there's a manual way, there's a way that you can find to automate it.
Mm-hmm.
But just right off the top of my head, because I saw this morning and with another client, is we had a coupon code generated for him, and he wanted to know all the people that had used the coupon code. So what I did was I went into coupons, and right there where your coupon, it says how many, there's a number of people that have redeemed the coupon.
Sure.
If you click on the number, it will bring up a list. It filters your customer list basically, and it just shows you the people that have used that coupon.
Mm-hmm.
You can select all, and then you can apply a tag manually. So the fact that you could apply a tag manually to people that used a coupon tells me somewhere in there in the automations, you should be able to differentiate a coupon usage.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was, and the other option, I guess, is in the pricing where it says pricing. So you got in your product, when you go to pricing, it has price points. But the thing that I'm confused about is that when I select it doesn't have like, the price point is just the price of the product, and you might have 2 different prices for different audiences. So
Correct.
you might have a different price point here, price point there. Those are different price points. One's $100 and one's $200. But if you have a coupon that lowers that to 0, so they get a free thing, right? That's not a price point anymore.
Okay.
It's either the 100 or the 200.
Yeah. So that's another thing about coupons. There's the idea of coupons is great, but it can have a negative effect on you. Like as soon as you add a coupon to a product, what happens is anybody that goes to purchase that product, when they get to the checkout, the box to put in a coupon code is going to appear. You know, that can derail someone that doesn't have the code.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really damaging your conversion ratio by doing that.
I see.
If you've got a coupon box there and they don't have a coupon code, I can guarantee you the first thing they're going to do is they're going to bounce off of your site. They're going to start searching, trying to find a coupon code instead of placing the order.
We did have one person that actually abandoned the cart, and I believe the reason they abandoned the cart is because they didn't see the little flashing red arrow. It says click here.
Yeah, for the coupon, to apply the coupon.
Right. I think that's what happened. I'm not sure exactly. It could have been the kid crying, or they just got distracted by another phone call. Who knows, really? But that's just my imagination.
In my opinion, a better way to do that would be on the sales page.
Mm-hmm.
On the sales page, you introduce the coupon code. And then when you have them click, you just apply it. So the way you can do that is you can set a different pricing level for the product that already gives them the discounted coupon code. And you can say right in your sales page, you can say, because you're here, this is the normal price. When you click the button, your discount's automatically going to be applied. That way there's no coupon code. They know they're going to get the coupon code, and it's going to just automatically be applied. And now because they've ordered at that price level, now you can apply a coupon code, a tag that says coupon.
So does that auto-populate? That auto-populates the coupon code if they then go to the next step? And
it doesn't auto-populate because there is no coupon code.
So just make a new product with the regular price point of $200 and then a price point of $0, and then you assign the price point of $0 if they go to that page.
Yeah, there's two things here that I want to differentiate. You don't have to create a new product. When you go into the product and you go to the pricing tab, you can set a second price level, and you just set the second price level at the discount code, or at the discount rate rather.
Right.
Now, the other thing, you cannot set a product to zero price. Kartra will not allow you to set a product to zero price. It has to be a minimum of $1. So if you want to give it to them for free, you just don't do it through product. You're not making a sale. What you can do is you can set the buy button. You just create a standard buy button that does not hook to the shopping cart. It doesn't attach to a product. It attaches to a form. The form collects the information that the product would normally collect to make a purchase. But when the form button is clicked, you have the form do an automation to deliver the product. Whether it's a membership, you can apply a membership access or whatever you want to do. That's how you do a purchase of a free product. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. So it's basically an opt-in form with a buy button.
Correct.
And this would be good if you wanted to have a bump offer on that where they could actually pay for something. Well, actually, no, because then you wouldn't be doing it's not a product.
Correct.
Can you do a bump offer? Can you do a bump offer with an opt-in form?
You can't do a bump offer with an opt-in form. They have to be making a purchase first.
Right. Okay. So bump offers only happen in purchases.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So if you want to give them a free thing, you just do that with a form. Just attach a buy button to a form. Done.
Right. The way that we did that, because there's a group of people that are just being emailed directly, and they go to an opt-in form.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the email sequence, we put the bump offer or the offer for the extra thing that would have been part of the product before.
Okay.
So, and is that the best, is that your recommendation on the best way of converting is through the email? Or should we be sending them to another page after they fill out the opt-in form, redirect to a new page with the product of the thing that would have been a bumped offer, but now it's a standalone product?
If you wanted to do that on the form, just make the thank you page on the form be your sales page.
I see.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Jan.
So when they fill out the form, they click submit, they get the free thing, and then the thank you page is now the sales page for the next offer. And that can have a regular buy button to a regular product.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that's different. Probably should make some notes on that.
Yeah. I mean, I have had people just force me to create every possible scenario you can imagine. They're like, how do I get it to do this? And I'm like, oh, let me think about that for a minute. Oh, okay, we'll do it this way.
Okay. All right, cool.
So Gwen, now what you have here, you've got a starting rule and you've got a set of emails that you want delivered. Now we have to connect the dots. So basically your first email it looks like it's number 5. So just drag that over to the left so it's not on top of the other one. Okay, now see the little gray half circle below the starting rule? The starting rule's at the top, right at the bottom of that yellow box, you've got a little gray half circle.
Hello?
You were muted there.
I'm mute.
Okay, so
Now
up.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay, so
Okay.
see the starting
there.
rules box, the yellow box up top. That gray dome right there. Click on it, and then drag it down to the top gray dome of the first one you want. There you go.
Oh, okay.
So now it's connected. So then the one right below there, you drag that one to the next point.
Okay, so
So
then
you
think that's
basically
connected.
just connect the dots of how you want those to go, and then they'll fire in
oh, okay.
they'll fire in that sequence.
Okay, I was all worried because I was like, now it's going to be out of sequence.
Yeah, no, you just kind of had them floating all over the place there. So you have to
I just messed it up. I think.
you just have to connect the dots.
Okay. I'm not even sure which ones are which. I'm going to have to go back and open them up each email and double check.
Yeah, you can always switch them around too and change them up.
Yeah, I think that's the next one, but I'll double check them before I send it out.
Okay. And then up at the very top, after you connect them, if you want to clean it up, you can click on the, I think it's the 3 little hamburger menu at the top center. The 3 lines, one above, yeah, that one there.
Oh, okay.
That'll rearrange it for you so it looks nice.
That's nicer. Okay. Okay, so basically all I need to do then is make sure I double check my sequence, make sure I add the tag, and then I'm good to go.
Yep, when you add that tag, the sequence should fire. And then it should go right down the line. You've got 2 days apart. So your first one will go immediately, followed by 2 days and 2 days and 2 days.
Which I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, if I should do every day.
You know, sometimes I'll do every day for the first 2 or 3 days, and then I kind of stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Then you
So
might
maybe if I did one today, one tomorrow, and then wait and hit them Monday.
Yeah, you could do that.
Might think, okay, I might do that. Okay, well that gives me more ideas of how to make this work.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
then
was like all excited, but I'm like,
okay, so just so you know, save that. Do the done and exit. And then I just want to show you how to end this if they take an action. So go to the automations tab. And then click the big green button.
I gotta move.
Plus.
I gotta move Zoom over to the other side here. Okay.
Now, for anybody that wants to do an automation, it literally is this simple. It comes up with automation and it says if and then. So you're saying if, and then you say what it is if they do this. So Gwen just needs to decide, you know, if this customer, you could say if they visit a page.
Right, that's what I was doing.
Okay.
On all of those, is if they visit the page, then they don't get the next email.
Correct.
It was a long form.
Okay.
Then.
So if they visit that page, then we want to remove them from the sequence.
So unassigned tag?
Nope, not unassigned tag.
Okay.
It's the next one below what you can see. Unsubscribe from sequence.
Okay.
So now what you're saying is if they click the link to go to that page, we don't want to keep hitting them with the same email to go visit the page.
Right.
So that's all there is to it.
Save. Okay.
And you can, you know, with the automations, you can get as advanced as you want with that. Like you could say, if they're unsubscribed from that sequence, maybe subscribe them to another sequence. So you can do all kinds of really cool stuff with this.
Yeah, okay. Now, do I need that? Because that was my main thing with all my pages, is if they don't click on that link within the page within 48 hours, then it takes them to the next email. So that's kind of how I had set these up as an automation to go in the sequence.
Okay. Yeah, that is that's a much more complex way to do it. I usually
So I
just
always
set
tend to do the hard way.
yeah, I always just set the sequence up to fire, fire, fire until we say stop.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make it easier.
And that's basically what you did with that one automation, as you said, if this link gets clicked and they go to this page, then stop the sequence.
Okay. So I didn't have to do it every time then.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
That's why I say you set the whole sequence up and then you go back and do the automations, because you only need a couple of automations. You might say,
Okay. So I was thinking I had to do it every time.
yeah, no. That's
Okay. Do I need to take those out, or
for
just
me,
let
that's
'em be?
working way too hard.
Well, I'm learning.
That's okay. But yeah, you can remove, you might as well remove those sequences just so you can keep your account clean and tidy, and you don't come back a year from now and go, what the hell is all this stuff?
So should I do that from sequences to remove the automations, or from the automations? Because I saw them
The automations, it's probably easier in the automations. You can just delete the ones
I'm thinking. So it would have been, this is the one we just did. So it'd be this one.
Yeah, you can just hit the red X, it'll get rid of it.
I think that was it, just the one. But I had a whole bunch of them, so interesting. Okay. Is there a way to test that sequence besides just the test emails?
What you can do, you can subscribe yourself to it, and then you'll get the drip coming through.
Okay.
I mean, you can test each individual email, but to actually test the sequence, you have to assign yourself to it.
Okay. I might do that just for this one to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, so do that, assign yourself to it, and then on the second day when you get the second email, click the link and then go back and make sure it unassigned you from the sequence. That way you're making sure the automation is working too, to take you out of the sequence.
Hey John, in her sequences, there's that thing at the top that says when to fire it, when to fire off the sequence. One thing I've noticed in the firing of our sequences is that it's all on Eastern time. Is there a way to make it so it's on Pacific time so that it doesn't confuse anybody?
So far, all of the back end stuff inside Kartra is Eastern time.
There's no way to change it.
So far, currently, there is no way to change the admin time frame. You just have to understand it's on Eastern time frame. A lot of people have complained, so I would imagine they're probably going to add that feature in the future, but it's just not here yet.
Yeah, and the one thing that I realized too is that it was firing. We had, it's interesting because I set up Twilio to fire a text campaign after the email goes out. So the email goes out, then there's a text that goes out to remind people to read their email. And one thing I realized is that I had it firing right after the email, and the email was set to fire at midnight. So it would be 10 p.m. So people would be getting text messages at 10 p.m. So I changed that so that it would be closer, be like in the morning instead. I think that might be better. And as far as Gwen is concerned, I think she has them all on the default, and I think the default is all 10 p.m. at night, isn't it?
I'm not sure if there's a default to fire. I usually set mine to fire, basically 24 hours after whatever the trigger is. So they're
Okay.
all based on that. Like if somebody opts in and they're a night owl, then they're going to get the follow-ups as a night owl.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way I do it. Okay,
John?
I had another question that came in this week from email that I said I would address on the call. And this has to do with like working with outsourcers and collaboration and people that you're basically engaging people to help work on a project with you. This can be done in many, many ways. I've done this with many people throughout the years, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It depends on the risk and the reward, like how much effort they have to put in and how much they're going to get out. But what I like to try and do is I personally like to instill loyalty. So I tend to create incentive programs for people that when they do work and they do it well and it's going to work for a long time, I incentivize them by paying them over a long period of time. So like for instance, if someone were to create a marketing campaign, let's say I engage someone to create a marketing campaign for me. And I said, here's how I'm going to compensate you is the marketing campaign, you could use it yourself as an affiliate and get the affiliate commission. I'm also going to allow everyone else to use the marketing campaign you created, and I'm going to set up a second tier level where you get the second tier commissions off of all of them. So that way, it's basically, it's incentive driven and it's paid by performance. So for me, it saves me, it keeps me protected from people getting paid for doing something that doesn't work, or you know, working on a project that never goes anywhere. I don't wind up paying out a bunch of money on stuff that never comes to fruition that way. Another example I wanted to use too is the way that Agura does this. Agura incentivizes their employees, and basically they do it this way. They say, we're going to give you a salary. We're going to give you a weekly salary that's fairly low. It's a fairly low salary. And they tell them that based on the salary, we want you to create a full end-to-end marketing campaign every week. You're going to get paid this amount. You're going to create a marketing campaign every week for that. If the marketing campaign works, you're going to get a royalty bonus on the sales of the marketing campaign. If you do not, the first week you do not come up with a campaign, you're no longer an employee and you lose all of those commission benefits. So talk about incentivizing and loyalizing. That's a good way to do it. And that's the Agura model. They are a billion-dollar company because of that model. That and a couple other things. They've done some stuff really right. But just know that's how they do it. That's a pretty good model to follow. So depending on what you're doing, there's a few different ways to incentivize people to jump on board, work with you with minimal commitments. Minimal commitments on your part, maximum upside and benefit on their part if they really know what they're doing and do it for you. So, all right. Any other questions? The Agora, it's Agora, and they're a big company. They're a publishing company. They do things in 3 markets. They serve 3 markets. It's the health market, the wealth market, and the prepper market, which is people that think the end of the world is right around the corner. Those are the 3 categories they cover. And all they sell, get this, all they sell is they sell monthly memberships to newsletters, bringing high quality, pertinent, relevant, timely information on those 3 categories. and I think they get $20 a month for their membership, and they are in the $1 billion a year of annual sales with that model, incentivizing their people to write big ideas and sales funnels on a weekly basis and get paid commissions on the winners. And they have to keep performing to keep getting the commissions. I mean, talk about a grind. That is like, I don't know that I would be that, that aggressive, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the gamut. There's everything from me to a guru. So, all right, guys, I think that should about do it. Anything else before we wrap up today?
I think that's it. Thank you so much, John, for being there.
All right. Well, thank you guys all
thank you, John,
for being on. That's awesome. I love our calls. So
hey, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
all right, we'll see you next week. I might move next week's call to Friday. I'll let you guys know, but I might have to shift things up next Thursday. I'll keep you posted. All right, guys, we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.